I kept repeating what I had heard in the MP3, my birth affirmations, and my birth went exactly how I wanted. Birth. My 3 previous births were traumatic and painful. I felt as though my will was not being heard. With my first birth, they ended up giving me an episiotomy while I had the mirror up to me, so I saw the whole thing. It was also very long, 29 hours from the first start, and I was exhausted. And by the time he came, I felt as though any place would be better than giving birth. My second birth came, and I was again hopeful for the natural birth and a birth that I'd always wanted. But he was a large baby, and it was 7 hours this time, but there were complications because of how large he was. And again, I wasn't being heard with the pain. And after the birth, I had a vaginal hematoma, and it took hours before they helped me and fixed it all up. So by the third birth, I again wanted my natural birth and the one I had always hoped for, a calm birth. But by the time the birth actually came, by the time it started, I was so scared that it took so long. And by the time it picked up and we went to the hospital, I was only 4 centimeters, and I'm sure I must have contracted a certain amount and then became smaller again from my fear. I didn't realize beforehand that I was so scared. And as the 4th birth approached, I realized that my fear was still there from all the previous births. And I started having a harder time as the birth approached, sleeping, eating, functioning. Every night I would just replay my births and think how this one was going to be awful. I knew this birth was going to be a home birth, but I didn't believe in myself to deal with the pain. And that's when I called Belly Beauties. And they gave me a questionnaire to fill out with a lot of what are my hopes for birthing. And just by doing that, I had a reaffirmation of how I wanted my birth to be. I did a process with them, and immediately after I was able to sleep again, I believed in myself as a birthing mother, that I could do it. And having my birthing MP3, I listened to it a few times a day. I was able to see, this is how my birth is going to be. Look on the positive. And when the birth came, I did start getting a little nervous. And Belly Beauties was there to support me and help me. And throughout the birth, it was only a few hours instead of 29 hours. I kept repeating what I had heard in the MP3, my birth affirmations, and my birth went exactly how I wanted. So I really recommend Belly Beauties. If you want that birth, if you want to be heard in your birth, to take it. Do it for yourself. Do it today.